Welcome to this Getting Started video on using a custom modern search result page in SharePoint Online. So pretty recently, we released a new capability in SharePoint Online, which gives you the option of overriding the out-of-the-box search results page. So you can actually create your own company-specific search results page, and you're able to use whatever web parts and experiences on that search results page as well. One of the options when you are designing that page is to use our open source community-driven PnP search solution. So this is something which we built, Microsoft has built together with community and MVPs to enable you to have a custom search results page experience in the SharePoint Online. This video has been recorded in January 2020. So if you're watching the video slightly later, some of the settings and options might be slightly different, but don't worry about it. The basics are still exactly the same. Now let's actually move into my tenant, my sample tenant here, which we're going to use as an example, as a starting point and a configuration. So I'm using here the landing page, and the landing page is one of the sample pages and structures, sample content, which we have available from the lookbook.microsoft.com. So if you go to the lookbook.microsoft.com address, you can actually find multiple different sample designs and cool looking portal layouts from where you can actually choose. And there are more than 10 of these available already at this time, and we're looking into having more in the future. So in my case, I'm using the landing, and I already provisioned that to my tenant because I'm a tenant administrator and I can easily make that happen. Now we can use the landing site collection as the demo site collection for this experience. So we're going to create a custom search results page, and we're going to modify that to work with our own business requirements or objectives for the experience. Now, how do we actually make that happen? Is that let's start by creating us the search results page. So I'm going to just briefly start by creating a new page in this particular site collection. You could actually do the custom search result page in the same tenant. So you can actually point all of your site collections to a one search result page, which could be, for example, located in the root of the tenant. But in this case, just from a simplicity perspective, I'm going to just create a new page in the landing site collection to demonstrate how we can configure this in a site collection level, and I'll come back on how we could potentially do that in a tenant level. So let's call this page as a results page, and let's call it as a search results. So we know that this is going to be the page which we modify more within the later on the video. So let's publish that, and let's actually copy that URL to our clipboard, so we actually take it with us because we're going to use that as the configuration. Let's get back on the welcome page, just briefly having a look on how the Microsoft search is being exposed here. So if I search, for example, Contoso in the search results page, by default, we're getting redirected to the underscore layouts 15 search ASPX page. And if you are paying attention on the address bar, and quite often people are not, and that's completely fine. We pay attention more on the page. And from this page, you can actually see that there's no editing experience. And maybe if the page and experience is not quite optimal for you, and you would like to have some additional settings, additional search queries, additional verticals or options here, you would like that to be available. And that's when we actually start using then the custom search results page. So this new capability gives you that option. So how do we do that in practice? So let's get back on the landing site. Let's go to the site settings. So we already have the upcoming results page in the clipboard. So now we go to the site contents, and we go to the site collection settings, so site settings. And under site settings, we have the search, which is a site collection setting. So if I go to the search settings, I will actually paste in the results page in here. And I will say that we're not going to use the same page setting as my tenant. We're actually going to use our custom results ASPX page, and clicking OK. So that's basically telling in this site collection, whenever we are applying or doing a search query, we're being redirected to that custom results page. And again, there are ways to tackle this in a tenant level. I'll come back on that one later on the video. So let's go back on the front page of the landing. And applying that setting actually takes a while. So it might be a few minutes, and they might be super long minutes when you're waiting to that setting to be applied. But you can basically see when it's applied by running the search query. So for example, in this case, we're still getting the underscore layouts on 15 and search ASPX. But if I do another refresh on the page and reloading the experience a few times, sooner or later, like I said, it might be really long 2 minutes when you can actually see the setting being applied when the caching has been gone. Well, that wasn't too bad. Now, when we do that search query, like the Contoso search query, we can actually see that we're landing on the results page already, but there's no results. Well, that is as expected, because we didn't add any web parts which would be available or which could actually read the search query, which is getting provided by the search text box. Good. Let me go back on the front page before we actually start configuring the results page, and let me show where we actually get started. So first of all, we go to the Microsoft Search github.io/PnP modern search, and you can find this both in the video recordings and in our documentation as well, and the video notes and description, and that will link. And from here, you can actually find our PnP modern search solution. So you could absolutely potentially write your own experience, or you could use the PnP modern search solution as a starting point and then extend that based on your business requirements as well. You can actually download or find additional details related on the solution. There's multiple different web parts. There's a extensibility library. There's different options if you are more on the development side. But if you're just wondering on or want to have a custom experience, you can simply go to the releases page, which is then redirected to the GitHub, at least for now, looking potentially changing some of their settings. And we have the Modern Search January 2020 release, which is the latest. And in here, I can find the SPPKG file. An SPPKG file is actually a SharePoint solution file. So by default, you should never, ever randomly just download a SharePoint solution file from internet and install that to your tenant. So you need to trust the source from where you're actually getting this information. So in this case, we are at the Microsoft Search GitHub organization, and this is a Microsoft coordinated PnP search results open source community effort. So it's safe to get installed to your tenant. But in general, you should be quite aware what are the things what you install to your tenant. Good. And now I have that one in my downloads folder. I actually have a few different versions out of it as well. So let me refresh that one. Let's get rid of the additional version because I downloaded and tested the things earlier as well. So let me go to the app catalog. Let me actually drag and drop this solution to the app catalog. And that's going to then prompt me that, are you sure you trust the provider of this solution? So as a tenant administrator or the manager of the app catalog, you need to then explicitly accept and that this is getting deployed by clicking deploy. And we are also using the tenant deployment option here, which means that the web parts are immediately available across the whole tenant. So you don't have to explicitly install the solution to a specific site collection. Clicking deploy, and that's it. The web parts are available. So the web parts are now available for anybody within the tenant. And that means that we're able to actually start implementing our custom results page. So let me actually query Contoso, and there's our search results page now. And let's start actually modifying this page slightly. So let me go to the edit mode. And let's get rid of the search result text from there. So that's fine. We don't actually need that. Let me actually slightly modify the layout because I want to have a refiners in place as well. And then I want to actually add the search results web part here. There's the search, or I can actually search just search. So I will actually get the search web parts available. So we wanted to have search results over there. And then we want to have the search refiners in here. And there's the search refiners web part as well. So just as well, I know that I can actually configure this almost in any order. So I'm going to say the refiners will be dependent on the search results web part. So that's the connectivity between them. And I could actually say refiners in here, and it's going to actually update the text as a title. In the search results web part, let's actually configure that one as well. And we want to actually tie in the search result web part. We want to connect into a source, and connecting that source being page environment and the page environment being search. So we're taking advantage of the dynamic data connectivity in the web parts, and we're saying that we're interested on the search query, which is coming from the search. And there we go. Now we can actually immediately see some results on the web part being rendered. So we get 24 results, and there's an automatic paging. There is a paging web part available as well, which you can hooking and configure to work together with search results. So I'm going to go to the next page, and we are able to then connect the web part. We're able to modify the query template. We're able to do additional other settings like the editing of the sort orders and sortable fields and all of that stuff. I want to actually connect this one to Search Refines web part. So I'm going to actually select that one. So then that actually enables us to see filtering and the size of the file as an example, and we can see the prediction of how many files belongs to under than 6 and all of that stuff. Let me get back on the configuration of the actual search results web part. I can do additional settings, I can do synonyms, there's a different layout which we can actually do here, and we can say search results as the title for that section. And we can modify absolutely the rendering in any way we want. So we could use easily, for example, the tiles is nice, quite nice rendering, especially if it's a document or a news article. It actually uses automatically that content. And we could filter down how many items are being shown and a few other settings as well. What's also pretty cool, this actually does support custom templating. So you're able to actually define your own custom template to render the results in any way you want. All of that is being documented if you prefer to do so. I'm going to use the tiles in this case, so we're not going to spend too much time on the different settings. And other than that, it actually looks quite okay. So let me close the search results and let me republish. And that's actually pretty cool. So now we have a custom search results page, and we could do something like Mark. I think we have one article or 2 articles created on Mark. Yes, that's the news article that's being shown in the landing. So that explains why it's visible over there. So that's pretty cool and cool settings. But there's one more thing which is slightly bothering here, isn't it? What's bothering? Well, there's a massive section and massive header. Can we get rid of that header and can we get rid of that settings as well? And the answer is yes, absolutely we can. So all of these settings which you're seeing, which I did manually here, you can actually manage them also using the PnP PowerShell. And what is PnP PowerShell and how do we get started on that one? Is that we go to our docs.microsoft.com, we can find the PnP PowerShell. And in this case, we are interested on installing PnP PowerShell from the PowerShell gallery and the SharePoint Online option. So let me actually copy that one. And I'm going to actually run my PowerShell in the admin mode. And I'm going to install the SharePoint Online PowerShell, the PnP PowerShell Online to this machine. And there we go. That's been actually already installed. So that's why you didn't actually see in that much additional information or additional progress when we do the installation. Now, in my case, that's already installed. So let me actually open up the PowerShell in the normal view. And what we can do with PnP PowerShell is that we are able to connect to an existing site, not only on a tenant level, but we're able to do things like, let me actually get rid of all of this clear. So we're connecting to the actual site collection level. And in this case, we actually want to configure the landing. So let me actually get the landing results. So I'm going to take the URL of the landing where I'm connecting to. So not only on a tenant settings, but also on a site level settings. And when I'm signing in, so you can do also the multi-factor authentication. In this case, I didn't do that. You can actually have a switch. Let me actually do that. So you can actually have use web. Where is it? There's multiple different options. Obviously, all of these are being recorded. I'm going to use the web logging, the sign in, which is then more usable or understandable. How do I actually sign in using potentially, for example, multi-factor authentication? So I'm going to sign in using that account, and it is asking my password. So let me actually get that one for that particular account and sign in. And for me, that's fine. We cannot just sign in for for the PnP session. And now we are able to do stuff like get PnP site. So we're able to see that we're in that site. We're able to do get PnP list, which is actually checking all of the lists within the site because we're connected on a site level, not on a tenant level. Obviously, PnP PowerShell can be used to configure also tenant level settings. But what we're interested in actually doing here is that we are interested on manipulating the client-side page. And the identity of the client-side page is results ASPX. So that means that I can do identity is results, and then I can actually change the layout type. Oh, sorry, it's get PnP site content. So I'm actually able to get the results page and the details around the results page. We can see additional settings. We could load any of the columns and any of the values of the results page. But what I actually want to do in here is that we want to set PnP client-side page. PnP client-side page with an identity, meaning the results.aspx, and we want to set the layout type to be headerless search results so that we can actually get rid of the additional header section of the rendering. So let's actually do that. And there we go. We are executing the PnP PowerShell. That's going to modify the settings of the page, and the page rendering has been done, or the update has been done. And now when we go to the page and we do a results and refresh, we can actually see that the page rendering is completely different. So now we don't have that high level, higher section or really big header on the top. Obviously, in this case, for whatever reason, the full suite navigation didn't render properly either. But let's actually see how it works if I go fully from the landing page. And I'm actually going to search the Contoso text here, and then we're going to go to the search results page. So let's do Contoso search from here. And there we go. We're being redirected to the results, and we're in the Contoso results, and there we can actually see the results related on that search. We're able to filter down based on the refiners which we configured using the web parts which came from the PnP search result solution. And we're able to, for example, filter down on the size of the page or all of those settings. And all of these are configurable in the web parts results as well. So pretty cool setup, and using again the custom search result settings in the site collection level, you're able to modify this per site collection. Now, a few times mentioned, you can, this is a site collection level setting. The only way you can actually control this in a site, in a tenant level is, first of all, you actually control, automate for the existing site collection, you would actually apply the setting to a centralized search result page if you're looking into having a one centralized search result page. And then you would actually take advantage of the default site designs, SharePoint default site design and provisioning. Let's actually have a look on that one. And that's the documentation. So the key point here is that if you actually define a custom default site design, or you define a default site design, which is default true, you're able to define a site design which is applied whenever a new site collection is getting created using any way in your tenant. So it doesn't matter if it's created through a group or a Teams or whatever reason, and this site design and site scripts are automatically applied. And in the site scripts, you're then able to, for example, execute an Azure function where you then define the needed settings, for example, for setting the results page for all of the new site collections. Not necessarily a quite optimal situation and requires some level of a thinking and automation, but the key point here is that you can actually do that in the enterprise level. So all of the site collections which are getting created can be pointed out and configured, for example, using a one specific results page. So you don't have to go one by one and update the setting per every single site collection as such. Also, please give us feedback around these settings and options. So it might be that there will be further site or tenant level options in the future based on the input which is valuable, which you will give us. So That's it for the custom search result page. We went through how do we actually set the custom search result page in a site collection level. We created the search result page. We also took advantage of the PnP search web parts or the search solution. And then we used PnP PowerShell to further configure the experience to be optimal from the end user perspective. Please note that there's multiple different web parts available in the PnP Modern Search options. If you have feedback, ideas, what's missing, please let us know. You can actually build quite comprehensive solutions in here. All of these are also open source. They're MIT licensed, so you're able to take advantage of this if needed. But that's it for this video. Hopefully you find that useful. Thank you.